Well, hello there guys and girls, my name's Mikey, welcome back to my room. It's time for another of our basic drawing tutorials. So today we're going to be learning how to draw 2-point and also 3-point perspective. Essentially getting your shapes and objects to look really dynamic with loads of vanishing points. Maybe it's going to help you with your architectural design, your buildings, your interiors, or you just want to understand how you can use perspective to draw objects that aren't necessarily squares and rectangles and still have them vanish off into the distance in a very pleasing manner. So first off, what we're going to do is talk about the 2-point perspective. I've just got myself some paper, a pencil and a ruler. That's all you need if you want to follow along at home. And I'm going to just start working in the bottom half of this page, and I'm going to start off again with a horizon line, which I'm going to put just about here. And I'm going to try to make that nice and dark so that you can see it fairly clearly at home. Now I've already done about the basics of vanishing points and 1-point perspective in the previous basic tutorial video, so give that a click, take a look there if you'd like to know the fundamental basics, and of course give this channel a click of that subscribe button just so you can keep up to date with more in the future. And we've talked about having that vanishing point in the middle. Now the magic of 2-point perspective is that you can have a vanishing point off to the left somewhere, and I'm going to mark it here, and also a vanishing point somewhere off to the right, which we're going to put here. And this horizon line, where you have your objects in comparison to that horizon line, is going to affect how they disappear off in different directions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with an object below the horizon line, and we're just going to make that maybe some sort of abstract shape here. I'm going to start by making that the corner of maybe a square, and using that corner point I'm going to go over to this vanishing point as a guideline. Going to be a little bit lighter here, and a guideline down here like so. And then over on this side, the other corner is going to go off to the other vanishing point, and this is going to basically be our guidelines that describe the shape of any kind of roughly geometric object that sits along this kind of same line in this direction and that direction. So I might want to dive straight and make this some sort of box that disappears a little off in that direction but is a bit longer maybe over on this side. And then again I'm going to use this vanishing point to help understand where the top, because we're just seeing the top of this box, is going to sit as well. So I'm just going to get my ruler in, get that line to line up, and put one in there. And also the same thing going off on this side as well. That just lets me know basically this and this are the far edges of that shape. So like we were saying about vanishing points before, we can just go ahead and put another one over here. We could say that this one is maybe a little bit thinner from our viewpoint because of the diminishing perspective. And again we'll use our other vanishing point to help measure how that should actually sit visually for us. So I'm going to go over here, just over there, and also just over there. Excuse me, clearing my throat. Just peeking over the top, and maybe in a similar vein I'm just going to show that that's going to finish somewhere up there on that guideline. So we've got a couple boxes over here. You can keep going in that direction as much as you like. I'm also going to actually go maybe right up here and just start with a shape like this. And again I'm going to use that vanishing point to describe how we can use 2-point vanishing points and use a box shape to help us actually understand maybe something a little bit different. And I think we'll probably go ahead and show maybe some circles, some wheels or coins, depending on what you want to imagine they're going to be, which are going to disappear off in this direction. So again I'm just popping in these very loose guidelines once I've got my corner sorted out. And if we imagine that this is some sort of vaguely squarish shape like that, I'm going to take that square and maybe just bring it down to have a shape that's got a little bit of thickness, some kind of rectangle like this, and get the underside in like so, and then that other edge is just going to meet there. And I'm actually going to use this just to map out very loosely a circle. So I'm just going to go and cut this in half, and then cut this in half this way as well, and just use that to very loosely, I'm not going to make this perfect, but very loosely describe that we've got some kind of circular elliptical shape that's under a perspective angle like so, something like this. I'm just going to keep going around that circle to make it very vaguely the kind of shape I want it to be. And then now that I've got that top edge of the circle, I'm going to go back, use this vanishing point to get the nearest edge so it doesn't quite meet the top. We see a bit of the circle shape here, and then I'm just going to follow that all the way down to the vanishing point, and a very similar thing at the underside down here. And all of a sudden we can use that and follow this curve to make this some kind of wheel shape or some kind of coin that disappears like so. Or maybe if we also then took this far edge and again follow that out to here and do the same with this edge over here. It might be that I'm going to use that to describe where another square might sit, let's say just here. So that's going off over there, and again disappearing somewhere off like that. And this might actually be a box to help us with our shape, but that box might be representing a cylinder sitting inside of there. So again, now that I've got that rough box shape mapped out, I can put maybe another circular cylinder shape in there, much like before. And maybe now this one is going to travel all the way down as a cylinder from here and from here and then curve off right off into the distance, something like that. So you can use the idea of vanishing points to make things disappear in different directions. It's a little bit easier when you're working with a sphere, because essentially it doesn't matter what angle you look a sphere from, or what kind of shape or distance it's going to be. If it's a perfect sphere, it's always basically going to be just you drawing a circle. So this is a little bit easier. If we just get some vanishing points in again, all of these different shapes and items of course exist on the same plane because they are essentially working out quite nicely as being part of the same environment. All of our angles, they all diminish off to the same points. Whereas obviously I've got this in a box, but really all I need to do is think of any point somewhere in the middle and then just try to map a circular or spherical shape somewhere around it. Of course, again, this isn't quite going to be perfect for the sake of just getting this drawn relatively quickly, because I just want to get these ideas out to you as quick as we can for the sake of this tutorial, although I will try to neaten it up a little bit in a minute. But basically, if we imagine that that's our spherical shape right there, let's just take a little bit of that edge off there, something like so. If we try to do this again further down here somewhere, absolutely fine. Again, all you're going to be really doing is drawing in another circle to represent the sphere, and you can use what we've learned in the shading tutorial to actually give that form and function as well. So here you've got an idea of how you can use all of these environments and shapes. When it comes to 3-point perspective, I'm going to move up to the top of the page, and we're going to use some very basic rectangular shapes to give us an idea of this for maybe doing a cityscape. So I'm going to go ahead and make the horizon line really high up in this example, like so. And I'm going to again have a vanishing point around about here. I'm going to mark another one again, vaguely around about here. But the third vanishing point, I'm actually going to have that right at the bottom of this page, vaguely in the middle, not too perfectly, but basically down there. And if I imagine that I'm going to only start drawing this particular cityscape from, let's just say, this line upward, we can go ahead and use this point to be the third vanishing line. So as well as going off to the left and the right, instead of our main lines being completely at 90 degrees, going straight up and straight down, they're all going to go and curve towards this other vanishing point as well. So let's go in with some basic shapes. I'll show you what we mean. I'm going to start right in the middle to make it nice and easy to begin with. And I'm going to imagine we've got a building that's going to be right about there. And just from this corner, already I know that we're going to vanish off to the left. And again, follow along at home. You can do any shapes and abstract ideas that you want, but playing around with the idea of perspective and playing around with the idea of these vanishing points is really going to make your work look really cool as time goes on, and you can get these really powerful city and structural environments, and it's going to help you a lot when it comes to future tutorials about sorting out your backgrounds. So again, I'm going to just go over here. I'm going to make this building around about this wide on this side, but here I am going right back down to that vanishing point. So I'm actually drawing this line down here. All of a sudden it's got that really abstract kind of shape as it's now bulging out towards us. And I'm going to, of course, map out the top edge of that building by going back over there. I'm going to make it vaguely a little bit wider down one side than it was on the other. Again, going down to our third vanishing point down at the bottom, and then same thing up to the left again to map out the roof space. And basically what I can just start to do is this for all sorts of buildings of all sorts of different heights. So I'm just going to randomly just start to pop a few more in really quickly. And again, once you just mark out where you want a corner of your building to be, you can use all of these vanishing points to help actually understand how they're going to map. You don't have to draw your line through everything every time, but it just helps give that idea. And again, of course, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you can, because we're going to slowly build on all of these tutorials. All of this basic set are all going to help you for when we do more and more advanced stuff in the future. And of course, it would be a pleasure to have you, and it'd really help me out as well. So now I'm just going to have maybe one building that's further back from the others and a little bit taller, and it's going to just start from up here. Again, lining up my ruler with that vanishing point, and this building is we're barely going to see the top of this one. We're getting quite a good high angle on this particular abstract cityscape, which we're just using our basic shapes to build up. But when we end up putting details on it, we can really make it end up being whatever we might want to. So I think this building here is going to go this wide and slide down to the bottom. And then on this side as well, in a really similar vein, it's going to come right the way down here. I'm going to keep that line fairly light because I'm going to go ahead and put in maybe something just a little bit shorter down here. One last kind of structure here, like so. And again, make that disappear off in both directions and just do a couple bits on either side as well really quick. So let's go up this side, back over here. And as long as you've got an idea of what you're building up and you're not getting too confused by your different lines, you can use as much detail or as little as you'd like and have a go in little pockets of space, kind of map out different structures and buildings to see how you feel about them. So I'm going to put one over on this side as well, just to even it out. I'm probably going to make this one be on the same line of space as this building, but a little bit shorter again. We're going to go as far out as there, but I'm only going to make it, I think, about this tall. So we're going to go through here up to this line, and then if I put it about here, so it's not very far away from our first structure, and then of course it's going to go up to the left vanishing point, and then over here as well. And this is a thing, you might end up with an image you're drawing, but your vanishing points are very far off the page. So sometimes they might be even off the paper when it comes to you shaping up buildings in a particular design that you'd like them to be. And then I think for one last bit, I'm going to have a building that just sits maybe in front down on this side as well, just to really bring everything forward. So I'm going to imagine where the top edge of that building is going to be. Quite low down about here is where I want it. And I'm just going to again pop a line down here, go to this vanishing point, understand that it's going to just shoot off down there a little bit, go to this vanishing point, understand that it just fits out there, and then with this vanishing point I'm going to know that all of that roof space meets up there. Now we've got one edge down here and the last edge down there. So I've imagined that we're just seeing at the very top of a kind of skyscraper environment, and that's basically it. We've talked about the details of measuring the depth in the last tutorial, diminishing objects. That's a real head scratcher, but when it comes to using 2-point perspective, you can have things above or below the horizon line depending on how you want to view them, and with 3-point perspective you can really start to get some dynamic shapes and angles coming in. So as you can see, what I'm going to do is just drop into a little bit of time lapse. I'm going to grab out my Copic markers and I'm just going to put a tiny bit of detail on some of these pictures just to clean them up and also really reinforce what we're looking at when it comes to getting a feel for the depth and dimensions on these things. If you guys have any questions questions about your own drawings or getting into perspective for your architecture and cityscapes, don't ever hesitate to get in the comments section below and give me an ask. I've done some architecture up to diploma level, so I've got a bit of a feeling about buildings and structures in general. And if you're ever having any trouble with your comic book or manga designs as well, I really think this is a place that's going to really bring them to life if you can have some dynamic backgrounds going on with your characters as well. So of course it goes without saying that I love to make these tutorials for free on YouTube because like many other people, drawing is really close to my heart, and I want it to be something that is a skill which is accessible for anybody to engage with if they've got the inkling to do so. However, the only reason that I'm able to do this is actually thanks to the lovely support of my patrons on Patreon. So I just want to give a quick shout out to ICZ, Michael M, The Cartoon Cynic, Raymond B, Trent P, Live on Kill, Ryder2KX, Michael B, Kurt D, Matt H, Ray C, The Clamps, Joe R, Kaidi Art, Mike, Michael S, Trent H, Adam D, Luke C, Wes B, Blue Mercy Studios, Julio Felix O, Savon S, Jamie, John Hall V, Carlos R, Gyro P, Simon B, Taylor S, Jake Y, John D, Furry Friend, Rory A, Homongchi L, Thomas C, Ollie, Cogleaf, Christian L, Gabriel R, Minion715, Adam T, Nikolai HH, and Zahaki. You guys amongst the other patrons have really made all of this possible, so I hope you're having a bloody good week. And of course, if you're ever curious, you can come and check out my Patreon page where copies of my artwork, alternative designs, and other worksheets and tutorials are made available. Even the smallest amount of support makes all of the difference, so thank you. And again, if you're making some really dynamic cityscapes and buildings or using 3-point perspective for something maybe a little bit more difficult, don't forget you can always share that on my Facebook page or just message me directly. I'd love to see what you guys are doing with your art. So again, make sure you've hit that subscribe button. I will see you guys around for some more tutorials and other art stuff in the future, and I hope you have a lovely week. Take care.